Salutations, fellow nerds. I'm Rick Y, the wise guy, and today is January 26, 2025. Donald Trump has taken a nice little trip out west here to meet with a real leader and see how organization through disaster really looks. In fact, although none of what was said was heard, the body language of the California governor on the tarmac demonstrated that Trump can be easily intimidated in the influence of a real man. Not only was he shown a real example of how men present themselves in important situations, local officials both schooled Trump's ignorance on basic fundamentals, and they were able to put a spotlight on Trump's incapability to internalize new information in public settings. First, let's take a look at the image of his arrival at LAX. Stepping off of the plane, Trump's bluster disappeared as he approached Gavin Newsom, stretched out his hand, and before Trump could do his little handshake pull-in that he does, Gavin Newsom had already closed that gap and got right into his face. And while all seemed cordial enough, there was absolutely a body language disparity between the leaders. One gave off a cool, calm, collected leadership in the height of disaster. The other gave a frumpy yam energy as his wife stood eager for Gavin's eye. We see that thirst, Melania. Don't you confuse yourself. He's way out of your league. And with his greeting, it was clear that he was ready to get down into business with the president, so hopefully dialogue about relief efforts could begin. Trump toured the area on foot and by air as he was escorted by a few Osprey VTOL aircraft. They're pretty neat looking, and if you ever get the chance to ride in one, don't. He commented on the devastation being something that he hadn't expected from his East Coast commentarium, Mar-a-Lago. He began his press conference after the eventful day by discussing that the homeowners want to rebuild mostly, and how adamantly the community was to stay in the area. He then went on to say that the fire department was so beautiful and, quote, every one of them is in perfect physical shape. Which is yet again proving that Donald Trump has an affinity for superficial details and apparently ogling our first responders like they're in a garage calendar. He then said that they gave him a helmet that he had brought to the presser. He apparently asked the fire chief, and again I quote, "Do you really wear this, huh? Is this real?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "It's awfully heavy. You have to be real strong to wear that." A comment that admittedly made Melania, who was sitting next to him, grin like a little schoolgirl. He then went on to describe the fire and utter devastation that he had witnessed while following it up with the comment, "But I just want to, commiserate and, we're gonna celebrate." Giving him the benefit of the doubt here, I'm assuming he means that we will rebuild it to a point where we can all celebrate the efforts of the community and the leadership for having guided them through devastating times. I won't try to take his words out of context, but holy shit, what a soundbite. He then went on to say that the federal government is standing behind LA 100%, which was legitimately relieving to hear, but sad that I actually question the veracity after he isn't in a position to answer for tough statements that he's made. He then extended greetings to the officials around him, to include Karen Bass, the mayor of LA, by saying, "Mayor Karen Bass, thank you, Karen, it is nice to meet you." Which is definitely toned down from his prior rhetoric against her. His introduction continued for some time, wherein he shared his nuanced and subtle approach to this issue. Trump said he would sign an executive order to open up the pipes and the valves up north, and this is where he dipped his toes into the pond of not knowing what the hell he's talking about. So let's cut through some of the shit, because there's even a lot of Californians out here who don't understand. First, let's get something straight. There's water. In fact, there are roughly 4 massive reservoirs in SoCal that help with this very thing. I sincerely hope you check out an educational TikToker by the name of Jason Journeyman, who covered this extensively, as did Adam Mockler with the Midas Touch Network. Those reservoirs are Diamond Valley, Cachuma, Casitas, and more importantly, the Castaic, which has plenty of water in it. Another comment that Trump made was that he needed to turn some kind of valve in the Pacific Northwest, which is like 600 miles away or so, and impossible. So he also went on to say that Canada could also send water, which, as Jason Journeyman pointed out, would be like Florida getting its water from New York. This is a premise that is both stupid as it is devoid of logic, and it's a wonder whether Trump has ever been caught choking on his own tongue. Here are some bits of information that you can just find with a little Googie search. Trump's magic valve that he is trying to describe is apparently the federal Central Valley Water Project, which services farms here, where I am, and has no access to places like LA. Additionally, the State Water Project moves water from northern regions of California to southern regions of California, like that of Castaic, which again has plenty of water in it right now. It's at currently 98% capacity. Oddly enough, a massive wildfire broke out right on the lake's edge, which provides ironically stupid images to Trump supporters, but here's one anyway. But there is much more to this issue, as was mentioned by Jason Journeyman. Crazy weather patterns and droughts caused by climate change, along with the invasive and incredibly flammable grasses that surround Castaic Lake. Then Santa Ana winds that were sustained at hurricane forces swept through the area and created conditions that even the FEMA fire administrator said that no amount of human resources could have stopped these fires and their ferocity. So if it wasn't abundantly clear before, if conservatives are blaming local Democrats for the water infrastructure issues, for the devastation seen in LA, it is a disingenuous and bad faith effort to play politics in a game of crisis by folks who refuse to speak about gun violence weeks or months after school shootings. They're also the same folks telling you that climate change is either a hoax or it's happening just because it isn't artificial, it's just a process that we need to endure instead of make any effort to limit or stop. Which is a statement that is equally as stupid as it is insane. And yet Trump continues to muddy the water here and confuse both Americans and Californians of the real issues that we face here in the Golden State. Trump has also now proposed that we should just get rid of FEMA entirely, which, if I may add, we Californians add more to in our tax dollars than the red states affected most by hurricanes combined. This lying and misinformation occurred during the past hurricanes that bull rushed the Southeast when people said that FEMA was only providing $750, if anything at all, which was complete dog shit. FEMA is still in parts of Carolina and Appalachia, and providing resources. It forced people to refuse help when they needed it desperately. It also continues to brainwash the American voter into believing that the federal government is so inept that there is no point to these programs. It is arguably some of the most insidious subversions of truth, and it stands to actually hurt, proportionately, more of Trump's base than the future of anyone else. As the presser continued, Trump said that this happened under Biden and that Biden wouldn't help, which is complete and utter crappity bullshit. Biden was actually physically in LA during the fires and was in constant communication with Gavin Newsom and provided every bit of federal aid that was possible. Again, Trump is playing stupid, immature political games during a tragedy, and when reminded that Pasadena and Altadena were also drastically affected, the president stated, "We had another president, and this took place during the life of another president, not me." After also leading up to this visit by stating that federal aid would be conditional, he said that he would also miraculously fix all of these problems, when Biden wouldn't. Again, complete lie. Joe Biden had been a phenomenal president during crises, as he's often had resources in places before they were even hit with travesties. So don't give me this bullshit that Biden wouldn't have done anything. Shame on him and anybody else who has such a feeble level of self-confidence that they need to dig this low. If you can talk shit in a room about someone who isn't there to defend themselves, then you have no honor. If you have to place yourself in a position where your declarations can't be challenged and you use that time to denigrate the honorable actions of someone else, go to hell. It's pathetic, it's weak, and it's vile. And it's not lost on me that I'm doing that very thing here on this channel. But that's the bar we've chosen to set for ourselves, and if he's going to be a pain in the ass, well then so will I. I can do this all day. Until next time, fellow nerds. Y'all come back now. You hear?